The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing.
Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the Linear Raceplex for your coverage of the Championship Esports Association Fort Chiswell RV Park Weekly Dirt Series. My name is Kelly Dahl. Along with me is Gary Weaver, and as always, we have Cisco Scaramuza pressing the buttons and getting you the picture. We have a full night of racing on tap tonight, but up first we got the first of a double feature for the Blue Shine Pro Late models, which will definitely be a race to watch, Gary. There's just a very small track. There's not a lot of real estate here, and these late models, they're anything but small. They're very big machines, so I think it's going to be a very difficult race for these guys, as I think the main battle is just going to be for track position and trying to find a way around their preferred lines.
Yeah, Kelly, you mentioned real estate and how large these cars are compared to, say, the modified, or not the modifieds, my goodness, the wing sprints that we are running later, but yeah, you are right. It's going to be even more interesting to see what line that these late models run as compared to, again, the sprint cars that we have later in the night. But not a lot of real estate. It's going to be interesting to see who chooses what line and what works best for these drivers.
And also it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to adapt as this track wears in, and where really it is going to wear in, as you'll see sometimes the drivers will go all the way down to that wall, but occasionally when that track wears in, you can get going pretty well on that high line. But as we're talking now, that we're now going to move over to that race session, these guys are going to jump onto the starting grid, so not too long now we're going to see who's going to be starting on pole, as the results from the earlier heat races that took place before this event. But your starting grid will be rolling off on pole. That's going to be the number 5 of Scott Austin. Alongside him is going to be the 4 of Eric Spencer. Second row there on that number 75 machine, that'll be John Hain. And on the outside of row 2 is going to be the 89 of Jeremy Adams.
Christian Pearson starts in 5th in that number 3, starting right next to him in row number 4 is going to be the number 7 of Jeff Ward, Richard Regan Jr., and Jonathan Smith start 7th and 8th, respectively, rounding out your 8-car field.
Not the biggest field for this race, but in part that may be a blessing for some of these drivers, because as we mentioned many times already, that not a very big track. You see already that there's quite a big slick spot through the middle, so I think we're going to maybe see a bit of two-line racing off the start. Some drivers are going to go to that inside, some may try to hang out on the outside, but let's see who's going to be able to just put that power down early on.
One less than a lap to green, I should say, is 4 on the inside, 4 on the outside. Like you mentioned, that slick spot, it's already in a way worn in, so we're going to see if anybody can try and use that lane to their advantage.
Scott Austin's going to have to wait until the iRacing service throws that green flag. The pace truck is going to duck down, and he's going to lead them off. The green flag waves, and there's already that 68 or the 89 of Jeremy Adams. He's already trying to make a move, and he's going to throw it up, almost going 3 wide right off the bat. They are going to go 3 wide back on the field, and the loser of that battle is going to be Eric Spencer, getting a lot of trouble there on that outside. And someone's actually making some more contact. It looks like Christian Peterson got tagged, and I think Richard Regan nearly got into that pit wall.
And that's the number 7 of Jeff Ward that gave that little tag right now, as everybody is pretty much spread out for the most part. 2 cars of 4, if you will. And meanwhile, back up front, I'm seeing the 89 Jeremy Adams, who benefited a lot from that. And you can see that they're running just under that slick spot that you mentioned.
Yeah, Jeremy Adams showing some good pace early on, trying to find where he can get some grip to get around that 75 machine is John Hain and Scott Austin. He's just trying to see if he can run consistently and keep those guys in his rear view. As there's basically there was a big mess along behind him as people went 3 wide, a couple people getting into the wall. Oh, a bit of a bobble from John Hain, and there comes that 89 machine of Jeremy Adams, going to throw it up the inside and take over that number 2 spot.
Battle for 6th place now between Jonathan Smith and the 23 and the 4 of Eric Spencer, who falls back to 7th place now. And battle for 3rd place between the 3 and the 75. Christian Pearson's going to throw it to the inside, trying to get by, or at least beside that number 75. He's got into the wall. Goes John Hayne out of turn number 2.
John Hayne just tags the wall, going to scrape up that right side of that car. And actually, there goes Christian Peterson tagging that wall as well, as everyone's just trying to hold on to these cars. They look like to be a major handful, as now John Hayne trying to get back onto Christian Peterson, seeing if he can try to move to the inside. Peterson washes up the racetrack, and that's going to leave an opening for that 75 machine, and they're going to go door to door into turns 1 here. And I think that inside line is still going to win out for the moment. There's just not quite enough speed on the outside just yet. But oh, look at that cross up from the 3. That was a fantastic move, and I think that might be able to get him back on the offensive here.
Battle's going on right now for 2nd place, and also a battle in the back for between 23 and the 46 for 6th place. Now they're both side by side, as well as Jonathan Smith and Richie Reagan Jr., but still sticking side by side as the 3 Christian Peterson. Now he's going to get by to 3rd place finally, and nope, to the inside. Looks at John Hayne right now coming after number 4. Can't get it done and stuck on the inside, but still a battle for 6th rages on.
Going back up to the front, though, Jeremy Adams putting on a lot of pressure onto Scott Austin. This is not a very long race. This is part 1 of a double feature. Only 25 laps, and we're already 12 laps into this thing. So Scott Austin under a heavy pressure from Jeremy Adams, but all he has to do is just keep closing off that inside line, keep running consistently. And Adams, though, he's going to try to figure something out. He's going to just keep trying to throw his nose into that inside. I think he does have the speed. He's shown that he's been able to get a couple good launches off the corner, and here's actually maybe an opportunity for him as the 5 goes to the high line.
He almost had there going through turns 3 and 4, still trying to look to the inside. You mentioned speed. Well, last time around, a lot of times were virtually identical, but to the inside goes the 89 for that 1st place position on the inside of Scott Austin. I think a little bit into that inside wall through turns 3 and 4, almost a little bit of contact as well.
Yeah, Austin got a little bit of a wobble coming off of turn 4 there. Kind of the car just appeared to get tight for a moment and straighten out, and that's not a thing you want to have happen as you're still trying to make it through a corner, but he was able to fight through it, and he's actually still able to hold on to that position. And when I saw him bobble like that, I thought that was going to be the end of it, and I thought Jeremy Adams was going to be able to get around, but Scott Austin still defending that position perfectly as everyone's still trying to see if they can get a hold of their positions. John Hayne getting right back onto Christian Peterson, who just made a mistake coming out of turn 4.
To the inside goes the 75, and there goes Christian Pearson into the outside wall. Wrong series, but for the lead, the 89, the 5, almost making contact down the front straightaway, and goodness, battles all over the track as the 75 makes his way by a 3rd place, but still 1st place. Jeremy Adams trying to get by Scott Austin. Like you mentioned, he had that speed. That time around was the 5 at the line. 6 laps to go.
And he's just got to see if he can get a good launch off the corner. He's got the advantage. Oh, they get into each other on the back straightaway, and that was nearly a disastrous move there. As I thought that 89 machine was going to get hooked into the wall again at the line that was the 5, but there's still another 6 laps to go at this moment as they are still battling it out. But it looks like 89 of Jeremy Adams, he is going to win the battle at the moment. I wouldn't consider this one over at all. I'm sure Scott Austin's going to have something to say about this before these last 5 laps are over and done with. But this is battles all over the racetrack, as he mentioned.
Yeah, everything for, once again, actually has sorted itself out and calmed down just a little bit. 4 laps to go now for Jeremy Adams in the lead, and he is pulling away from Scott Austin, and he just had the fastest lap of almost of the race, but fastest lap of anybody on track, 13.892. Or Scott Austin has a 14.282, and for 3rd place again is going to be Christian Pearson to the inside, or at least looking to the inside of John Hayne, trying to get back into 3rd place.
Yeah, but you got to be careful because he's got that number 7 of Jeff Ward right on his rear bumper here. So one mistake from Christian Peterson, that will probably give up a position. But there's only 2 laps to go here, and Jeremy Adams, he's checked out. He's already a full second ahead of Scott Austin. And Christian Peterson actually having problems. He got into the wall, so here comes Jeff Ward.
Jeff Ward to the inside. Wofford with the crossover on the final lap. It's going to be the win for Jeremy Adams, no doubt. Provided he has a smooth corner, but 4th place is still in the battle right now as Jeremy Adams makes his way out of turn number 4. He will win here in this race. Into the inside for 4th place. The 3 and the 7 make contact, and the 3 of Christian Pearson stays in that 4th place position.
Well, Well, that was definitely a great way to start the night. An absolutely insane race. There was just battles from front to back. I'm sure Cisco was pretty angry with us flipping all over the place. I'm sure he was very busy trying to keep track of what we were talking about, but we were having trouble just keeping track of what was happening on the racetrack. There was tons of battles, but that was just some great driving from Jeremy Adams, who had just some unreal speed.
That was an amazing job by Jeremy Adams, and that battle for 4th place was also exciting as well. But congratulations to Jeremy Adams, who also set the fastest lap of the race as well with a 13.808.
Yeah, we're going to see if we can catch up to Jeremy Adams here in a few moments, but right off the drop of the green flag, we saw him just kind of duck to the middle line. He started on the outside and just into the turn 1, he immediately threw it up the middle, and he showed from right off the drop that he had the speed, and it was just a huge battle for him to try to get around our leader, their pole sitter of Scott Austin, but he did eventually make that happen. But we're going to see if we can catch up to him shortly here at the moment. But I think coming up, though, we will have the Legends series up next.
It's going to be very exciting. Very small cars to have at a dirt track, but I think the smallest of the dirt portion of iRacing in general, or dirt content here on iRacing, and I've raced it a few times. It's actually quite fun. Just keep it flat out for the most part, and it's very exciting to run. Haven't ran it in a while, but those Legends are definitely going to be putting on an exciting show.
Yeah, we got Jeremy Adams here lined up. I'm going to see if we can catch up to him now. Still not getting him. All right, so we have Jeremy Adams here, the winner for the first race of the night and the first race for these drivers for the night, because they will not be done there. It's a double feature for the Pro Late models. But Jeremy, just a fantastic race from you. It seemed like you had quite a bit of speed from right off the drop of the flag. Did you just have something figured out that you think these guys just didn't quite really have the knowledge for?
I think they all got the knowledge for it. I think that I was just I was kind of having to use the brake a whole lot to keep the car on the bottom and keep it so to turn. Scott and Christian both said they were getting really tight off the corner, so I was just keeping it on the bottom and keep using the brake to keep it turned. I think that was the difference in what I did and what everybody else did.
Well, we mentioned a few times at the beginning of this show that these are very big cars. This is not a very big track, and it seemed like you were having quite a bit of trouble getting around our pole sitter to take over the race lead. How difficult is it to pass at this track in cars of this size?
It's pretty hard to pass, especially, I don't know, these cars seem like they're basically stuck on the bottom, so you basically just have to, you can move them out of the way and just run over them, but I don't like to race like that, so you just kind of got to wait for them to make a little mistake, and I think Scott was getting tight and ended up hitting the wall once, messed up 4, I think, and I stuck it in there and got under him.
Well, as mentioned, this is only the first of 2 races for you guys. You guys are going to be closing out the night with your last 25 of your double feature. You've already got the win in the first feature. How are you feeling going into that second feature later on?
I feel pretty good. I'm gonna run the same setup. I think it'll be fine. We'll just have to come from the back. So I don't know if 25 laps will be enough to do it or not, but we're gonna try.
Well, before we let you go, we're gonna give you a chance to basically have the floor and give any shoutouts to whoever we wish to thank for this feature win.
Everybody at Team Vincier, especially Scott and Christian. I think they're the only ones running the series with us tonight. So, and Christian, or Peterson Irrigation, and Scott Austin Designs. You guys for broadcasting, and Barnes for putting on the show.
All right, thank you very much, Jeremy, and hopefully, maybe it will work out for you, and maybe we'll talk to you again at the end of the night.
Yeah, I hope so.
All right, so that was Jeremy Adams, the driver of the number 89 machine, winner of race number 1 of the night, and winner of the first feature for the Blue Shine Pro Late Model Series. But now we're going to switch it up. We're going to go right into our next series. We have got up next is the not the Austin Designs. That is the Peterson Irrigation Legends Series. These guys are going to be going for 20 laps here, and got a I think, a few more cars to start it out, and I think this is going to be a very exciting race. Gary, you were talking about how you said you really enjoyed driving these guys.
Yeah, these Legends cars are fun. I believe, yep, have ran this at this particular track as well. 9 drivers here, so going to be very exciting. But like I said, these Legends and the Dirt Legends in general, really amazing to run, as we have possibly one more driver that may be joining us just at the last second. But as of right now, 9 drivers at the moment, should be getting that 10th driver in just a few moments. Hopefully they can make it in, as we're now lining up for the grid.
We're going to jump right into your starting grid. Christian Peterson, he's going to roll off on the pole alongside him, and that's going to be the 54 of Ricky Barbary. Running in row number 2, that's going to be the 33 Bruno Latour. He rolls off in 3rd. 2 is outside, the number 2 of Ben Izenga. And rounding out the top 5, that's going to be the 74 of Brian Simpson.
Starting in 6th, it's going to be the number 72 of Rory Blum. To his outside, it's going to be Jeremy Adams, who we just interviewed. Hopefully we will see him make another dominant statement here today, who starts in 7th. Dalton Martin starts 8th in the number 10. Jimmy Watkins starts 9th in the 90. And CJ Mason starts 10th in the number 5.
No 10 cars do make it to the starting grid, so just a little bit more than the pro late models, but as you can see, the size difference in these cars, there's going to be a lot more real estate for these guys to work with. But I think really the major place they're going to be going for once again is going to be that inside line. The inside line is usually the most dominant around this track, but it's a very difficult line to keep, as we saw, and I've also heard from Jeremy Adams. He's saying that he's having to touch that brake, just work that cars a little bit more to keep the inside.
Yeah, we're going to see if we can see anybody try and run whatever line that they can, inside, outside, maybe even the top side. If someone actually dares to run that, that would be very interesting to see a Legends car run the high side. But less than a lap to green once again here at the Legends, 10 drivers. It's going to be very exciting here, Kelly.
Yeah, Christian Peterson is going to lead this 10-car field. He's, again, going to have to wait for the drop of the iRacing green flag, and we'll see where that pace truck's going to go, and it's going to duck down to the race, or to the safety of pit road, and that green flag is going to immediately come out. So Christian Peterson jumping on the throttle, drivers scattering all over the place behind him, trying to see where they can get the better line. That 2 car is way up the racetrack. You were talking about running the inside line. Actually, we got tons of trouble.
That's number 72 of Roy Blum. And the 74 of Brian Simpson. Sorry, Kelly.
That's not a problem. That was big trouble. Looks like that number is the 72 just kind of hooked that car coming off of turn number 2. We're going to get you a replay here up on the screen, but this is right off the bat a lot of trouble for a lot of cars here. So number 2 got right up to the wall. We also saw, I think, the 54 of Ricky Barbary. He also gets way sideways, nearly loses it and catches the guy to his inside. But the big losers here with the 72 and the 74 just kind of getting well, the 72 got hooked by the 10 of Dalton Martin, but then Rory Blum just kind of got right into Brian Simpson. So big problems for these drivers right off the bat, but we're going to get them all regrouped. I think everyone's still able to keep their cars on the racetrack at least.
Yeah, so that's a good thing, and we can keep up this action that we've been getting. And well, I honestly was not expecting somebody to run that top side, but Ben Izenga just decided to completely do that right off the start in the first corner as we go double file for the second time tonight. So thanks, Ben, for that. I was not expecting that whatsoever, but look at how tiny these cars are, just from a distance, no less. It's very, very exciting. Through turns 3 and 4, could be hitting the green once again. Not really major change, and Christian Peterson is down on the loud pedal and away as we head back into turns 1 and 2.
Christian Peterson getting a great launch that time, and he's going to take a commanding lead to start. And once again, that number 2 of Ben Izenga going way up to the wall. He seems to really like that high line, but the high line is not working out for him as he's losing just hand over fist. Oh, big problem. CJ Mason, he's into that divider between pit road and the racetrack. That car got completely jammed up, and I think that's going to be the cause of our caution.
No, it's not actually. There was a wreck just in front of them, just in front of that. The 33 of Bruno Latour slid down in front of the 89. He took a little bit of a tumble. That was Jeremy Adams.
And Jeremy Adams, unfortunately, getting caught up in the little bit of an accident here, and to see if he's going to be able to keep that car going, but he was able to. He did completely flip that thing onto his wheels. He's still on the racetrack at the moment, but we'll have to wonder how much damage is on that race car. Is definitely after doing a full rotation is not going to leave you in the best condition, but he may be able to still wheel this thing up to a decent finishing position. But we're 8 laps into this race already out of a 20-lap feature, but there's been not too much racing and a lot of wrecking so far.
Hopefully that can sort itself out, as we are on only lap 8, and it just seems like right now, at least at the moment, people, they know what to do. It's just that it does seem to be a little bit difficult to control these cars a little bit, and I wouldn't be surprised, of course, still just, you know, rookie mistakes, especially in Legends, ironically enough, is that sometimes you get on the throttle too much and you're steering a little bit too much, and that's what can cause some of these problems. Just spin out, and next thing you know, you're over and around. And unfortunately, I've collected some people as the pace truck dives to safety of pit road. Green flag is back out. Christian Peterson's still down on the lap pedal line away once again. To the outside goes number 2 once again.
It seems to be the safest place for him. May not be the fastest place, but it's been able to keep him out of trouble. But he's now trying to see if he can make that work. It looks like he's just trying to bang off the cushion that's just not really there for him. And he's going to go way down the racetrack now, as he really kind of hooked on the high side that time. But, oh, he's actually sideways. Around goes the number 2, and that's going to collect the 89, who's going to spin around the 74. But so far, we are still green for some reason. But that 74 was at a dead stop facing the opposite direction.
Well, it was near the back of the field, so it makes sense as the 2 is trying to figure out, still trying to get used to running that outside lane right now, as Christian Peterson has already made his gap very noticeable, 0.4 or so seconds. Yep, sorry, that's about almost a second of a lead, as right now we battle between the 54 and the number 10. That's Ricky Barbary and Dalton Martin. Dalton trying to catch up for second.
Yeah, Dalton was involved in that first incident when he had that 74 hook across him. Now they're going to get into each other. The 54 of Ricky Barbary comes down on the 10, and he's going to get himself turned around, and that is going to trigger the caution this time. And nearly gets collected by a few other drivers coming off of turn 4. So not a great moment for that 54 of Ricky Barbary, and I think he may have some damage to that race car.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. It could also be causing some steering damage as well. This is, I believe, what will be, and yes it will, the last chance, and pretty much a shootout, if you will, for these final laps. 5 laps to go, so we should be getting the green with about 3 laps to go.
Yeah, 3 or 4 laps to go will be the distance, we believe, at the moment for the this little dash, and I'm sure Christian Peterson will be okay with it, because he has so far been just fantastic on these starts and restarts. He's been able to just keep that power down underneath of him, and has been launching off the corners. So we'll have to keep an eye on him and see if he can get another good start on this next restart.
Well, that's all he's been doing ever since the start of this race, and I wouldn't be surprised. All he has to do is get a good start, and as opposed to both asphalt and, well, slipstream doesn't really apply to dirt as far as I know. All he has to do is get a good start. He's immediately is going to be fine. He's already shown dominance on these little green flag runs that we've had. The lights are out, and he'll be going green. Maybe Dalton Martin on the outside, however, can match that pace of Christian Peterson and give that number 23 a little bit of a surprise.
Will be 3 laps to go as we go green. This time, pace truck dives to the safety of pit road. Green flag comes out, and Christian Peterson again immediately launching out ahead of the second place driver, and that's Dalton Martin. But Dalton's going to have a good turn 1 and 2 as they go 3 wide behind them. There's contact. It looks like Ricky Barbary again getting the worst of it, spinning himself around. We are going to stay green, though, so we are going to be able to battle this out. 2 laps to go. Dalton Martin still trying to chase down Christian Peterson.
Unfortunately, it may not happen, as Christian Peterson has a 16.96, 17.042 for that number 10 of Dalton Martin. But for second place, Jeremy Adams is starting to sneak up right now. So final lap this time around for Christian Peterson.
Christian Peterson leads over Dalton Martin, who leads over Jeremy Adams there. That's your top 3 battling it out for the last corner. And really, Christian Peterson just has to hold on, and he will win. Actually, nearly sliding into the wall for a second there, but he will win the feature for the Peterson Irrigation Legends Series. So just a fantastic drive from that 23 machine, and just absolute flag-to-flag dominance from him.
Christian Peterson did an amazing job, so congratulations to him again. Fastest lap of the race at 16.891, and that second fastest lap of the race was a 17.008, and that was from Jeremy Adams, ironically. So unfortunately, Jeremy finishes in third place, but he does finish in the podium. So Christian Peterson with the win here in the Legends, and hopefully we can get a word with him in just a few moments.
Your results from the Legends Series: Christian Peterson, of course, takes the win. Second place, Dalton Martin started 8th, fights his way all the way up to 2nd. Jeremy Adams will come home in 3rd. 4th goes that to Rory Blum in that 72 machine. And the number 2 of Benny Zenga, not able to work the high line just that well enough. He comes home in 5th.
Finishing 6th is Jeremy Watkins, 7th Bruno Latour. Ricky Barbary finishes in 8th, 9th Brian Simpson, and 10th CJ Mason.
We're going to see if we can catch up to Christian Peterson here in just a moment. But here's your winner from the Peterson Irrigation Legends Series, Christian Peterson. Just an absolutely dominant performance there, and it seemed like it was a very messy race. Were these cars just difficult to handle on this track?
Yeah, I think they're pretty short wheelbase, so you touch the apron and they de-wedge pretty easy and get really sideways. So you just got to be ready for that, or just run like kind of the asphalt line. So I think after a few wrecks, people kind of got the hang of it, and but we'll see. Next week should be better.
Speaking of next week, how are you feeling going into that race? Are you going to feel a bit better about racing there over Lanier, or is Lanier a bit more of a preferred track for you?
Well, when I say next week, I meant like the next time we come back to the Dirt Series. But I mean Lanier's fun. It's and that's kind of like an asphalt car. It's got dirt tires on it, but it's pretty much an asphalt car. So you just kind of got to know how to flick it into the corner, and they drive a little bit different than dirt cars. So I mean, it's not so much Lanier. It's just the way the car is.
Hey, well, we saw a few people try the high line, but it seemed like the low line was going to be the more dominant line around here. Is that really just how it is all the time, or you think it was just a little bit the way the track was worn in?
Might be different in the sprint cars and maybe the late models some weeks, but tonight, as long as the track's like this, it'll pretty much be bottom. You just kind of hook the apron with a bunch of the cars, and the Legend car especially, you can kind of, it's like I said, it's an asphalt car, so you get it set up right, you can run in the slick just with a little bit of angle. So.
Well, Christian, you are no stranger to LSRTV, and I'm sure you're no stranger to what I'm about to ask you next, but you took the win here tonight. Who would you like to thank for this finish? No,
just everybody at CEA, and thanks for putting on the Dirt Series. I know the Dirt Series picked up some, I can't remember the name, some kind of RV park, and then LSRTV, you guys helped out, and that's awesome. And then just everybody at Team Vincier and GlobalCom and Peterson Irrigation and Scott Austin Designs.
Well, thank you very much, Christian, for taking the time to talk to us. We'll let you go. I think you'll probably see you once again later on tonight, maybe even up next in the limited late models. But thank you for coming by to stop and talk to us.
All right, thanks, Kelly.
That was Christian Peterson, the winner of the Peterson Irrigation Legends Series. But now we're going to shift gears, go back up to the big size cars. We're going to go back to the limited late models now. Welcome back to the Fort Chiswell RV Park Weekly Dirt Series. Next up is the Austin Designs Limited Late Models. Well, we saw how the Pro Late Models fared to this track, so Gary, what are you thinking to expect? We're to expect from the Limiteds?
Probably the same thing, just seeing all these drivers running the middle to inside lane, if you will, and well, pretty much the inside lane, just below the slick that we had before once we ran the Pro Late models here. So essentially the same thing that we've seen just a couple races ago.
Well, the Limiteds they differ from the Pros in the fact that they just don't quite have as much power. So these cars are a bit more momentum. It's a bit more difficult to make up from a mistake you may have in the corner. So these drivers, the key definitely is going to be as consistent and as smooth as possible. But we're now getting the cars lined up on the grid. So your starting grid for the limited late model race will be rolling off in pole position would be the number 7 of Jeff Ward. 2 is outside. That's going to be the 89 of Jeremy Adams. CJ Mason rolls off in 3rd. 4th goes to Eric Spencer. 5th will be the 43 of Reed Rundell. And 6th is the 41 of Sean Cross.
Scott Austin starts in 7th place, and the number 5, James Krahula, starts 8th in number 4. Roy Blum, the 72, starts 9th. To his outside starts Jeremy Watkins in the number 90, and Ben Azenga in the number 07 starts in 11th.
The pace truck leads these cars around. Jeff Ward's going to lead the field. He's going to have to wait until that green flag flies before he can mash that loud pedal, and I'm sure that's going to be even on this track. That green flag comes out almost immediately. It's going to feel like an eternity to him, I'm sure. Yeah,
it's a very short eternity, though. It's just that's always the anticipation here at this track. Half a lap to green, as I mentioned. The Pro Late Model and Limited Late Model are different. You are right. Horsepower for the Limited 400, 700 for the Pro Late Model. So essentially 300 or 400, 300 different, but nonetheless, pace truck is off, green flag is out, and there goes Jeff Ward down and away.
CJ Mason not getting a great start, though. That's going to check up to the inside line, but here comes Jeremy Adams trying to see if he can work that middle to outside line, as he seems to be really the only one that's been able to work that line, as the rest of the field's kind of dropped off, and a bit of a bobble there from him this time around, and that's going to be the end of him attempting the outside. He's almost going to get into the corner of that 7 machine as he tried to force his way down to the inside.
And the huge scramble of cars, almost 3 wide in turn 3, practically 3 wide. The 43 is trying to figure out where to go, and he's caught up with all these other drivers mid-pack right now, as that's slowly starting to sort itself out. Contact in the back between the 07 and the 72 of Roy Blum. They managed to keep it going forward.
A lot of these cars seem to have trouble keeping that thing sideways as they're straightening out a lot in the corners, and a couple of these cars getting tight. Big slide from that 41 if it's Sean Cross. Just seemed like he was an understeer city on that inside, and there it is again, just pushing through the corner. That's big problems for him, and these are the other drivers that are trying to get around him is almost making himself a roadblock as he's just bulldozing through those corners.
Luckily, everyone is still managing to keep it going forward. Some drivers like the 33 CJ Mason and the 43 of Reed Rundell running the high side, or at least the 33 is running the very high side. Haven't seen that often in the late models, but he's doing what he can do to try and keep that momentum, as you can see just 4 other drivers around this position just racing for position and real estate.
3 wide, almost going 4 wide in the back of the field here is that 43 machine. It was Reed Rundell. He's trying to find a way in front around this roadblock that's formed up in front of him that consists of the 5, the 4, and the 33 who actually get into each other, and that 4 is going to lose out here. So James Krahula, he's up into the wall. CJ Mason got into him as well, and he's actually now up on his side. He gets collected. I think that's the 07 of Benazinga, and there's big problems for that 4 machine. I think he's got an axle broken.
Yeah, suspension is completely destroyed, unfortunately, and that's from when I got into the wall, and then the 33 went up under his car, and that just completely broke the axle. I believe that was the rear axle that was broken, so real unfortunate. The 07 to Ben Azenga, unfortunately, had absolutely nowhere to go.
Yeah, I don't think James just couldn't be aware of how that car was. All he saw was that he was back on all. He was on all 4 wheels. He knew he could. And he knew or at least he thought he was all right. So he tried to put the power down. The second that happened, that car just started flipping out, and really there was no way for him to tell right off the bat after he hit the wall like that. And I'm kind of surprised it took that much damage. He didn't seem like that big of a contact between him and CJ Mason.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate, and of course also very strange. I've never, neither have I have ever seen suspension break from that kind of contact, but you never know what could be broken from pretty much whatever kind of a wreck that you're in. So lights are out, the 4 is out, unfortunately, no longer in this race, finishing 11th. So 5 cars on the top line, 5 cars on the inside line, heading back to green in just a few moments.
Jeff Ward will continue to lead this race, but Jeremy Adams had a bit of a challenge for him as the last time around. Green flag is going to come out though, and we're going to get back to racing. Seems like the outside line doesn't get going very well again. Looks like Sean Cross is not getting a great start. Jeremy Adams trying to see if he can put some pressure on Jeff Ward, tries to get around that outside, but Ward holds him off. Adams seeing where he can go as these cars scramble all behind him.
Practically almost free wide between the 43. I think the 5 and the 41 contact, and still going forward are all of them. Unfortunately, 07 of Ben had to slide to a stop. He's still going forward. My goodness, that was an interesting save. So we are still green here.
Yeah, a lot of contact. Luckily, all these cars are going to keep going. We got more contact between the 41 and the 43, and that one looked like be a bit harder as well. And that 41 machine of Sean Cross, he's looking a little bit worse for wear now. He's quite banged up.
Still continuing onward, however, is that number 41, and I think the 98 Jimmy Watkins had a very high exit, probably got a piece of the wall, but just in front of him, side by side, 33 and 72 side by side.
Yeah, the CJ Mason, he's going to try to go all the way up to the wall. That's not going to work out for him. Just car does not quite have the power to make this out the high line work, and we're going to go back up to the forwards, the front of the field though. Eric Spencer, he's starting to put some pressure on Jeremy Adams. He wants that number 2 spot. Spencer
looking to the inside, running very close to that wall. A little bit of a quicker, or at least a little bit of a higher exit, it seems. And something I noticed, you can tell how quick this dirt track action is that whenever something is mentioned side by side, then it sorts itself out about 3 seconds after it's mentioned. So that's how quickly things can change here on dirt, and how exciting it is. It's right now everyone seems to be a little bit spread out at the moment, aside from the 33 who's got some heavy right rear quarter panel damage.
Yeah, he's been involved in a couple of accidents there. That time sliding around the turns 1 and 2. Not going to be he's actually struggling quite a bit with that car, as that time he just couldn't get it to turn into the corner. He's actually going to make contact, just a little bit of a bump to the 41 of Sean Cross, but 33 of CJ Mason, he seems to be just trying to survive at this point. But luckily he doesn't have too much more to go, as we're going to go 4 to go.
Jeff Ward, number 7, leading this race right now. Fastest lap of the race, 14.289. 3 laps to go this time around. Now that gap between first, second, and third are all equally, appearance at least, are the same. It's right now coming around for 2 laps to go. So I'm seeing Scott Austin, the number 5. He's setting his sights on Eric Spencer right now.
Yeah, Scott Austin trying to see if he can catch up to the back of that number 6 machine, but he does not have very long to go, as we're going to go 1 to go. White flag is in the air. Jeff Ward is just got to make that around this track one more time. Just going to try to see if he can. I believe he's going to stay behind that lap traffic of Ben Nzinga, but number 7, Jeff Ward, he will win the limited late model series here tonight. And just one more time, a dominant race from that guy that started off front. But Jeremy Adams certainly put a pressure on him on the restarts, but Jeff Ward, he knew where to put that car, and was able to just find that grip.
Yeah, he did an amazing job. Congratulations to him, as we're going to right now, while we still have the chance, head down your finishing order. Jeff Ward finishing in first after he started first, like Kelly mentioned, a dominant performance. Jeremy Adams started second, finished in second as well, so Jeremy Adams, no change there. Third place, Eric Spencer. 4th, Scott Austin. 5th, Rory Blum. 6th is Reed Rundell.
John Cross is going to bring his car home in 7th place. 8th goes to Jeremy Watkins. CJ Mason finishes in 9th. Benazinga finishes in 10th, and rounding out our 11-car field will be the 4 of James Krahula.
So right now, we still have the chance. We're going to bring in Jeff Ward, pole sitter and winner of this race. Jeff, well, you did what you could. You found the correct line, and even throughout all of that and the restarts, you still showed a dominant performance.
Yeah, I was able to hang on there. I thought after the yellow that Jeremy would get up there and battle with us a little bit. I mean, he stuck his nose in there a couple times and kind of had to give him room there. But yeah, man, as long as if it's fixed setup, I feel like I can run with these guys. But open setup, they got us whooped. But hopefully going into this sprint race here, with it being fixed, we'll be just as competitive. But yeah, man, a good win. I'm happy with it, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was definitely fun to watch up here as well. So, of course, just like the Pro Late Model race, everybody was running at least the middle line or just below that, or the track was worn in just below that slick spot next to the inside wall in the corners. Have you ever considered at least running a little bit higher in the line as well, maybe just for a little bit of an experiment, or have you done that in testing?
Well, I was watching the Legends race there, and it looked like some guys were kind of venturing up there and finding some grip, but I just can't find no grip up there in either one of the late model cars. The sprint car might be a little different. We'll see coming up here, but I feel like I can definitely keep momentum a little better in the sprint car up there than I can in the 2 late model cars.
Yeah, sprint cars are definitely built for that high lane. So before we let you go off and racing the sprint cars, who would you like to thank for finishing in first here tonight?
You guys for doing the broadcast. I'd like to thank CEA and just Loud Pedal Motorsports. None of them guys run with me over here, but you know, they're always supporting me and what I do, and just friends and family.
Well, we are going to go ahead and let you go. Congratulations once again, and good luck in the sprint car race.
All right, thanks, guys.
So we're going to switch things up here, go from the closed wheel to the open wheel. We're going to leave the late models for now. We're going to go to the 360 sprint race, and I'm sure these guys are going to be an extremely exciting race to watch. But before we get to that, we'd like to give a big thank you to the title sponsor for this series. Coverage of the weekly Dirt Series is brought to you by Fort Chiswell RV Park, the most complete RV park in Southwest Virginia. Up next, the 360 sprint cars, and I'm more of a sprint car guy. This is kind of my thing, especially the 360, so I'm very excited to watch this race. These cars are always a ton of fun to drive, and I think here's where we're going to start to see the more of a variation on the line, especially now that we've got this track so worn in. There's a huge slick spot on that track, but just the way Lanier is, there always is a little bit of moisture down on that bottom line, but it gets harder and harder to hit that line, and I think we're going to see a lot more cars try to bang off the cushion on the high side now.
Yeah, who needs the inside line when we can run the 360 sprint car? I love these things. These are the most fun cars to drive here, at least on iRacing. At least in my personal opinion, these are absolutely amazing. Let me be more specific. On the dirt oval side is the dirt sprint cars overall, winged dirt sprint cars for me, as the grid is now starting to set up. And to head through your top 7 or so, top 6 I should say, as we have 13 cars here. Starting first is going to be Richard Reagan Jr., Christian Peterson second, third James Krahula, fourth Reed Rundell, Jeff Ward starts in 5th, and 6th is going to be Bruno Latour.
Rory Blum is going to be rolling off 7th in that 72 machine. Scott Austin starts in 8th. John Hayne will be rolling off in 9th. Rounding out the top 10, though, will be the 73 of Eric Spencer. Jeremy Watkins rolls off in 11th. Scott Mueller will be starting in 12th. And rounding out this 13-car field will be the 41 of Sean Cross. So a bit of a bigger field. I think a lot of people are agreeing with you that these cars are the most fun to drive, and that's why we've got the biggest turnout so far in the winged sprints. But it also has a little bit of, they're easier to drive. I will admit, these cars are easy to drive, but they're very difficult to drive fast. You can't just keep that pedal mashed like a lot of people think. So we're going to see who's going to be able to tame these beasts and be able to get around this track.
Admittedly, I've done that, but it was at a different track, so it could be irrelevant information, but I managed to do it at least once. It was the dirt track at Charlotte. That track is really amazing to do pretty much anything at, especially these sprint cars. But we're here at Lanier, so we're going to see if anyone can manage to do the same thing here, run that top side full throttle. Maybe it's possible. We're going to find out as pace truck pulls off. Richard Reagan Jr. brings the field down out of turn 4, and on the lap pedal, everybody, look at that 23 sticking up on the high side.
Yeah, getting way up wide. That looks to be James Krahula. He immediately wants to go to the high side. And here comes Christian Peterson. He's trying to make that high side work because they go 3 wide behind them for third place. But Christian Peterson, he's going to win out. Oh, James Krahula's in the wall. So there's big problems with that 4 machine. But he's able to somehow keep that car rolling.
Great job by James Krahula to attempt to get it off the wall as quick as possible. So admittedly, you can see right now as the 7 of Jeff Ward was looking to the outside, almost on the back bumper of the 43 of Rundell. On the high side, everybody's migrated to the high side just a couple laps after the start. Some people were on the inside line for momentum or for passing as well.
Yeah, a couple guys are banging off that cushion, trying to see if they can get some grip off the dirt that's been packed up there. But it looks to be the guy that's figured this out, though, is Christian Peterson. He's starting to open up a bit of a gap over Richard Reagan. Reed Rundell, he's trying to catch up, but he's starting to get a little bit of pressure from Jeff Ward behind him.
I think Richard Reagan Jr., he's just had the fastest lap of the race and the fastest lap on track twice, I believe, actually. He's closing the gap now to Christian Peterson. That start may have been anticipated by Christian Peterson. Caution is out on the track, and I'm seeing Scott Austin sideways out in turn number 2.
Yeah, we're going to get a replay up on the screen for you there. We're going to see what happened to Scott Austin. Looks like to be that he was just going into the corner a little bit too hot, got himself up into the wall, and eventually the wall just kind of pushed back and spun him sideways. And we'll see if he can keep that machine going, but that might have possibly pushed that right rear tire in a little bit, and that will definitely affect the handling of the 12 machine.
Yeah, again, I can relate to that. So that you think you can keep the momentum in and try, and I believe the term is dime in the corner. Maybe that's an asphalt term. I'm honestly not sure, but hey, it works. So just enter the corner low, slide up to the top side, and then, well, maybe stand the top side out. But unfortunately, there's just a bit too much momentum for that number 12, and well, unfortunately, he got into that outside wall in turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, he just kind of hopped the cushion there and tagged the wall, but I think someone that wasn't wanting to see that caution come out was Richard Reagan. He was getting that momentum. He was about to take the fight to Christian Peterson, but we'll have to see if he's going to be able to pick up where he left off as everyone gets formed up 2 by 2 once more. Christian Peterson now going to have control of the field this time. By pace truck is going to dive to the safety of pit road. Christian Peterson getting a great launch off the start, and Richard Reagan actually seeing if he's going to be able to get the move, and he does have a great move on the inside. He's going to almost get around Christian Peterson, and he's going to dive all the way down to the inside where we haven't seen too many drivers go so far. It's not going to work out. There is not enough grip there, and that's actually going to put him into the clutches of Jeff Ward.
You could visibly see the loss of momentum that Reagan had as Jeff Ward, like you mentioned, on the high side now, running that. Look at that in the background. 72 of Roy Blum trying the same thing. Didn't really appear to work out for him as well, but right now, their top 3 order switched just a bit. Only second and third had made a difference as Reagan now has finally migrated himself to the high side.
Yeah, Jeff Ward now, he's going to be charged with the task of chasing down Christian Peterson, and he's also got Richard Reagan still on his bumper. Richard Reagan is kind of regrouped himself and is getting onto that line. Notice that he's not going all the way out there most of the time. A lot of the time he is trying to stick to the as close to the inside. He's just trying to keep those back wheels on the on where the moisture is and keep the front where there's the slick, but it's just not quite working out for him. So he's gonna actually, oh, Jeff Ward in trouble now. He's gonna get into the wall and he's gonna tag Regan, and actually that's gonna be big trouble for Jeff Ward.
Reed Rundell also got a piece of that. He's still going forward, so that 43 lucked out just barely, but it appeared to be the same thing happened for that number 7 and Jeff Ward. Just too much momentum into the corner, or in this case it looks like he was actually just entering too high into the corner. So that can also happen as well. If you're not careful enough entering in the corner, then well, next thing you know, you're up on the outside wall.
Yeah, big problems for that 7 machine. I think there's going to be a bit of damage to that. He's looking like it, to the naked eye, it looks not that bad, but as I mentioned earlier, it could have knocked in that that right rear tire, pushed that thing just a little bit in, and that's definitely going to affect him a little bit. And trying to see if he's checking the handling at the moment as well as he can under caution, but it's not going to be until they're back up to full song that he's going to know what the extent is. So that's going to shove Richard Regan up to second place once again, and he really put the fight to Christian Peterson on that last start. We'll have to see if he's going to be able to pressure him again on this next restart.
Hopefully for Richard he can. We saw in the initial start that Pearson had immediately stuck with Richard Regan on the high side in that 43. But now, once again, same thing, just as this past restart, positions are swapped, and maybe that 46 can anticipate the jump for Peterson. Pace truck to the pit road. Peterson's down and away, and there goes Regan, side by side for everybody else behind him.
Yeah, Rory Bloom's trying to get it going, but he makes a big mistake there, and that's, or sorry, that wasn't Rory Bloom. I believe that's Reed Rundell.
Eric Spencer had a huge tumble down the entire back straightaway, back up on 4 wheels. My goodness, I honestly have no idea what happened, but replay coming up.
Yeah, it looks like he just kind of got into the, I believe that's Bruno Latour in that 33 machine coming off of turn 2, and kind of just got put into the wall, and Jeff Ward again just getting into him, and that sends Eric Spencer flying down that back straightaway into turn 3, and I'm sure Jeff Ward was not. He certainly didn't want to hit him, of course, but I'm sure he didn't want any more damage to that machine that was already just extremely beat up from his last wreck. And he's now got some front end damage to go along with that right side damage. I think he's also missing his front wing now.
Yeah, just a little bit of insult to injury, and like you mentioned, I'm not seeing that front wing either, so just a little bit too much damage. Of course, it's just one of the other cases, as I believe the lights are out on the pace truck now, and they are. It's just one of those cases where you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, and there's nothing you can do except hit the brake and hold it as hard as you can, just hope that you miss whoever's wrecking in front of you.
Going to be 8 to go when we get back green here. Regan holding back just a little bit, trying to see if he can keep an eye on Peterson on this launch here. And Peterson again getting a great jump off, and that's going to help him going into this first turn as he has to enter very low. And then speaking of entering, look at that big slide right behind Regan there.
Some drivers on the bottom side, and you can see Regan looking to the middle lane right now. 7 laps to go as everyone else is behind him. Contact in the back, that's the number 75 sliding down the back straightaway. Essentially almost the same thing happened once again. Also lands back on his route. Also lands back on 4 wheels.
Yeah, that was just another, it looks like Hayne there just got a little bit too far sideways, kind of tagged that loose dirt on the top side, and that kind of sent him sliding down to the inside line where he met up with Rory Blum. Once again, Rory just kind of getting himself involved in these things to really no fault of his own there, but really the John Hayne just not getting the best of that, and again, more heavy damage to that car, and I think he's going to have to park it.
Unfortunately, he has 3 drivers essentially out of this race right now, so 10 drivers left. And we should be getting another shootout, possibly 3 laps to go if we get the lights out this time around. Everyone's already double filed up, so we're going to watch for the lights here on the safety truck, and they are out. So 3-lap shootout here. I'm going to see if Richard Regan can do anything.
Yeah, Richard Regan's had a few attempts to catch Christian Peterson, but Peterson's always getting those great jumps. He's kind of switching it up every time of where he's going to take off, and we'll have to see if Regan's going to be able to guess this time around, because that's really all he needs is a good jump, and not going to get it there. Christian Peterson, he's going to take off into turn 1, and it's going to force Richard Regan to he's actually going to get a great turn off through turns 1 and 2, but again, he's still trying to chase down Peterson.
This time around, 2 laps to go, and Regan is stuck almost literally on the back bumper of Peterson. Peterson went a little bit wide, and Regan was looking to the inside, had to check up to avoid hanging in the back bumper as they're crashing in the back. Huge crash in the back, and caution is out. That, unfortunately, is the race, and that's the number 7 again, and the number 41 of Sean Cross.
Yeah, and I really feel bad for Richard Regan that time there, as it seemed like he was going to have something for Peterson, but Unfortunately, that is going to cut it short. Christian Peterson crossed the line this time, and that is going to end the race under caution. So your winner for the 360 Sprint Series at Lanier is going to be the 23 of Christian Peterson.
Congratulations to him once again. Essentially, it was the same thing, just like in the Legends race that we had earlier. So many cautions, but also amazing jumps and starts by Christian Peterson. As you can see, the 46 had pulled up alongside of him.
So Christian Peterson wins the race over the 46 of Richard Reagan Jr., who finishes in second. Reed Rundell finishes in third. Fourth goes to the 73 of Eric Spencer. Bruno Latour comes home in fifth, and coming home in sixth will be the 72 of Rory Bloom.
Number 5 of Scott Muller finishes in 7th. 8th goes to Scott Austin. 9th is Sean Cross. Jeff Ward finishes in 10th. John Hain, James Corhula, and Jeremy Watkins also among the drivers that unfortunately had too much damage and could not continue. So we're going to get a word in with Christian Peterson here in just a few moments.
Christian Peterson, talking to you once again after a very crazy sprint car race, and we saw a number of different lines that were being taken on that high side. But where do you think was the best place to run? Just up near that loose dirt, or was it trying to get a little bit closer to where the slick was?
I think I was sending it in. If I sent it in too high, I felt like I was going to hit the wall. So I was trying to send it in a little bit lower and just kind of bounce off the loose stuff, and then power down the straightaway. But I think I got pretty lucky, getting the lead early, and then we had a bunch of cautions. Even though the restarts were like probably the most vulnerable I'd say, and there was a lot of them. So, but I think I had control of it. So, and he didn't really have control at the start. So, I think if he had control, maybe it would have been a little different. But either way, it was going to be. I think a couple more laps he would have tried to slide drop me. Or if we didn't get the yellow. The yellow was kind of confusing. It was like it came out right after the white flag came out.
Yeah, well, it was a very exciting battle, and also it seemed like some people were having troubles holding onto that car throughout the second half of the turn. It also seemed like you were getting pretty sideways throughout the second half of the turn. Was just feeling like you guys were just sending it just a bit too hard into the entry there, or was that just kind of a strategy you were trying to make, just kind of straighten out and power out?
Yeah, I think it was just kind of, get sideways and then straight off instead of trying to like ride the cushion around the whole track. Just kind of bounce off of it, drive straight, like get extra sideways in the center, and then drive straight off.
Well, Christian, we allowed you to have just to say your piece a little bit earlier tonight, but we'll let you have it one more time. Who'd you like to thank for this finish here?
Just all the guys who showed up. It was a fun race with Richard. That was a lot of fun. Just everybody at Team here, all those guys, 6-man race cars, and also designs.
All right, well, thank you very much, Christian. Good luck to you going into this final race throughout the night.
Thanks, Kelly.
All right, so Christian Peterson, that was the winner of the 360 Sprint Series, but we are going to go right back to the big cars. We are going to finish off the night with the guys that opened out the night. The Blue Shine Late Model Series, they're here to finish off the second half of their double 25 feature.
Yep, another 25 laps here in the Pro Late Models once again. It's going to be quite interesting, especially since the track is more worn in than it was when we first started this night as well, Kelly.
Yeah, so these guys that started out the night, they can't really run the same line, the same driving styles they did as the night started, because that track is definitely a lot more really blown out. But we'd like to give you thanks to the one of our own sponsors. Coverage of the Fort Chiswell RV Park Weekly Dirt Series is brought to you by Joel Real Timing, the official timing software of LSRTV. Whether you spend your time on the sim behind the wheel, on the pits box, or from the spotter stand, JRT is the go-to software for iRacing timing and scoring analytics. Get yourself a basic download or get the pro version today at joe-real-timing.com. getting ready to end off the night here. Not as many cars as we started the night, but we're going to get onto our starting grid. Leading off the race, that's going to be Richard Reagan Jr. Second is going to go to Jonathan Smith. Third is going to be Jeff Ward and Christian Peterson. He's going to roll off in fourth.
John Haynes starts in fifth, Scott Austin sixth, and seventh place will be Jeremy Adams.
So definitely keep an eye on that 89 machine. He's going to have to start at the back because it is a full field inversion from how the first feature earlier on finished. And we saw Jeremy Adams, he didn't start at the front in that first feature. He started a couple rows back, but he immediately jumped for that middle line and from the outside and tried to throw it 3 wide, and he just had the speed right off the bat. So that 89 machine, we know it's going to be fast, but is he going to be, well, we know he would normally be fast, but is he going to be fast in this track state? Because the track, it's dirt racing. The track is drastically different after all these other cars have run on it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Jeremy Adams can retain that momentum that they had. Maybe he would get away with having a faster speed as well. It's going to be even more interesting to see what line that these drivers choose. Probably the same one, but maybe just a little bit higher where it's just above that slick where it is. But you can see how worn in that these turns are as we're now coming down to 1 lap to green for another 25 lap event here in the Pro Late Models. Like you mentioned, it's going to be quite exciting, especially with this full field invert.
And we're going to have to see if that high line is going to be a factor this time around. We saw in the first race, it was just, you wanted to stay to the inside, but now there's a bit slicker here, and these cars, they can't really fit on that inside. It might be a bit better to run the high side, but Richard Regan, he's going to be able to lead the field down, and we're going to get the green flag, and we are off racing. And look at that 23 machine of Jonathan Smith. He's trying to hold it off on the outside, but he just gets a little bit too wobbly there, and there's contact back in the field. John Haynes into the wall after getting tangled up with the 5 of Scott Austin, but we are going to stay green.
Had a very staggered 4-wide formation there for a second, but look at this 46 now. Richard Reagan on the high side, but to the inside for the lead, almost coming in front of that 46 is Jeff Ward using that inside lane. So that inside lane still does have momentum. Look at the 89 of Jeremy Adams, I should say, now sliding into the picture.
Yeah, Jeremy Adams has some speed. We're going to go 3 wide into turn 3, and there's going to be a bit of contact between the 23. We're almost going to go 4 wide here as the 5 tries to get him, or sorry, the 8 of Christian Peterson tries to get himself involved here, but there's just not enough room for all those cars, and somehow we are going to keep everyone pointed a straight line. But now Jeremy Adams, he's going to go to battle with Richard Regan, and Regan way up high there, and that's going to allow Adams to slide up in front of him, just cut off any sort of run he would get from that high side. And while this is all going on, Jeff Ward is quietly checking out.
I think they were for a while, to be honest, but like you mentioned, Jeff Ward checking out right now, and Richard Regan now hanging on to 3rd place, but Jeremy Adams right now, fastest lap last around, 0.2 faster than Jeff Ward, 14.0 versus Jeff Ward's 14.2. We may be seeing Jeremy Adams sneak up into 1st place here in a few laps time. I believe he got a little piece of that wall coming off of turn number 4.
And it seems like he's just keeping that car a little bit straighter, and he's just feathering the throttle just a little bit better off the corner as Jeff Ward might be spinning him up just a little bit. So that's definitely helping that 89 machine. Look at him just dive that thing down to the inside, seeing if he can make it stick, but just not quite working there that time. But Adams is definitely just trying everything out, trying to see where that speed is, but I think he just needs to go back a little bit when he's experimenting, because he did have that speed a couple laps ago, and still is though, but he's still quietly catching up to Jeff Ward.
And Jeff Ward is quietly checking out, and Jeremy Adams is quietly starting to check out with him. A bit of a battle for 3rd place, or at least brewing for 4th place, I should say, between the 8 of Christian Peterson and 23 Jonathan Smith. But that's, as of right now, really a close battle right now. As the 8 of Peterson keeps looking down to the inside, but can't quite get there.
No, he's still trying to struggle to get around the 23, who's also trying to get around the 46 of Regan. And there's a good bit of a run from the 8 there. Christian Peterson was able to get a good run off the corner. He was able to get that forward bite, but nowhere to go as that 23 just kind of stopped the run right there. And oh, again, the 23 and the 8 getting into it. So the 8 of Christian Peterson just kind of pushing in the rear bumper of that 23 machine.
Yeah, I was looking to the outside in turns 3 and 4 lap ago. He still is. A little bit of contact now, almost turning the 23 around. Here comes number 75 of John Hayden into this picture now, into this battles. These drivers are really close. Throw them under a blanket and enjoy this. As right now, well, that's sort of settled itself out. And well, right now that battle for first and second is pretty much a stalemate as of right now. But this battle for fourth is still ongoing as we're slowly closing in, quickly closing in, right now on 10 laps to go.
And Jeremy Adams and Jeff Ward, they have taken off. They are on about 2.5 seconds between Jeremy Adams and Richard Reagan Jr., so about 3 seconds total from Jeff Ward to third place. So there's just 2 cars that have taken off, and oh, Jeff Ward into the wall, and that's going to give the lead to Jeremy Adams. So a costly mistake, but Jeff Ward immediately getting back into him again, gets into the wall. So huge mistake for Jeff Ward, and that is going to cost him the lead, possibly even cost him the race.
And around that same time, Christian Pearson has finally made his way around Jonathan Smith there in number 23 for 4th place. So we may be seeing Richard Reagan, if that wasn't as costly as a mistake as it really was to cost him the lead, it may cost him 3rd place as well, because Reagan is closing in right now. 10th faster last time around was Reagan. That time by, this entire time by, was Christian Pearson 14.0 fastest lap this time around.
Yeah, but there's just not that many laps to go, as we're closing in on 6 to go at the moment. So if Reagan's going to want to catch up to Ward, he's going to have to find either hope for Ward to make another mistake, or he's going to have to find just a little bit of extra grip around that racetrack. But at the same time, he can't really go experimenting because he's got Peterson right on his bumper now.
Yeah, Pearson has finally made his way past that number 23, now to the inside for 3rd place on that 46. A little bit of contact, it seems, down the front straight at the start-finish line. That turn around in the 3rd place position go to the 46, still side by side down the back straightaway as they head towards 3 laps to go this time around. The advantage for the 8 this time around, powering off on the outside, is Reagan.
Yeah, that 46 machine was just finding that grip on the outside for it to just put the power down out of the corner, and it's really keeping Peterson kind of penned in on the inside. It's almost similar to what you'd see on the asphalt side, where you're just trying to cut off someone from making the run off the corner and powering out of the corner. But we also may have to deal with some lap traffic here shortly, as Scott Austin just kind of slowly moving around in front of them. But we're going to come to the white flag. Jeremy Adams has already taken the white flag, but we've got still a huge battle for 3rd.
Jeremy Adams and Jeff Ward 1st and 2nd, no doubt. Battle ongoing still for 3rd place to the inside. Heavily goes Christian Pearson to the line, 46.8. It's going to be the number 46 of Richard Reagan Jr. by about half a car length.
But Jerry Adams will take the sweep. He won the first feature, and he will win the second feature of this twin feature for the Blue Shine Pro Late Model. So give the win to Jeremy Adams. Give the win of the night to Jeremy Adams. And this some fantastic driving from him, just some absolutely dominant driving. So he knew where to find that grip, always had the speed in that machine. So Jeremy Adams takes the win. 2nd place in the results will go to Jeff Ward, and 3rd will go to Richard Reagan Jr.
Pearson finishes in 4th place. Jonathan Smith in 5th. John Hayden and Scott Austin are 6th and 7th respectively.
So some great racing throughout the night, but we're going to catch up once again to Jeremy Adams here, and we'll see what he's going to have to say about this second feature. Jeremy, here to talk to you once more. You won the first race of the night, and you closed out the night with a win as well. And how different was it between the first race and the second race? We saw the track was a lot more worn in, but how was it on the racetrack for you?
It's pretty good. The track was a lot sicker than we expected, and it just had to drive it through there. It was I don't know if I would have had anything for Jeff or not. We was about the same speed, but it was just he finally hit a wall, and I made a small mistake, and I was able to get around him.
Well, you said earlier tonight after the first race that you were starting in the back and you just didn't think it was going to be possible. You didn't think you were going to have enough time to get up to the front, but it certainly seemed to work out for you. But how was it trying to move through the field at the start of the race?
It was pretty hard. It was, I don't know, the car was, I probably should have tightened it up a little more, and the way I tightened it up, the way I needed to, so it was really tight on the straightaway, so I kind of just had to put it on the bottom and bide my time, and luckily everybody else was trying to run a groove up, so it wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be.
Well, you had a great race here tonight, a great set of races here tonight. You got to do this earlier on in the night. We're going to do it once more. We're going to give you the floor, but who would you like to thank for your outstanding performance tonight?
Peterson Irrigation, everybody at Team Vincier, Protect Custom Gear, Scott Austin Designs, and you guys for putting it on, and Barnes puts on a good show. Appreciate everything.
All right, well, thank you very much, Jeremy, for coming to talk to us multiple times throughout the night, and congratulations to you for these this pair of wins.
Thank you, appreciate it.
That was Jeremy Adams, driver the number 89, winner of the feature for the Blue Shine late models. But really, it's been a full night of racing. Just some fantastic racing from start to finish. And Gary, I think it was just a really exciting time.
Yeah, this is why I love watching dirt racing on iRacing. It's simply amazing. Ironically, I don't watch it in person all that often, but still, even in person, I think it's more exciting on iRacing, to be honest, because you never know what could actually be happening. So it's going to be quite interesting, especially for next week, as again, we are at Lanier, but except it's going to be on asphalt this time.
Yeah, as he was saying, next Wednesday, that's going to be the Cars Esport Tour, brought to you by Championship Esports Association. Going to be here at Lanier in the asphalt here. That's going to be with Evan, Austin, Chris Murdoch, and Jacqueline. So you want to come back here next week at the same time. You're going to see the best drivers on pavement, best drivers just in late models in general, going at it in the Cars Esport Tour. But that's going to do it here for us tonight. So for Cisco Scaramuza, Gary Weaver, everyone else, Evan, Laura, and DJ, and everyone else at LSRTV, we would like to thank you for spending your time here with us tonight, and hopefully we'll see you again next week at Lanier once more.